We're getting close to Sunday. You know what that means. You know it. You're addicted to it. Bears football! And oh boy, is the Bears football abundant. Yeah, it certainly feels like we're heading for one of those types of games on Sunday. We've got the Patriots traveling to the third-rate dump of a stadium that looks like a UFO took a huge hulk of crap inside of the Roman Coliseum, Soldier Field, to face the Bears. Oh, God. So what do we got heading into this matchup? You got the Patriots, who I don't think it's a real surprise to anyone. They were going to suck this year. They do. They've at least met the expectations. That's a representation of years of terrible drafting and team building by former head coach and general manager Bill Belichick. And when you think about terrible general managers in recent NFL history, Bill Belichick has to be at the top of that list. I'm sorry. Like, his work the last 5 years or so in New England was just god awful. And for all those that used to sit there and say that Tom Brady was a system quarterback, how about Bill Belichick just benefited from being around Tom Brady? It's certainly what it looked like, right? So no surprise, the Patriots stink. It didn't really matter this year because it was all going to be about the Drake May experience. And you look at last Sunday's game, they lost in overtime to the Titans 20-17, but in the big moment, at least in regulation time, when the chips were down, it was fourth down, game on the line, Drake May comes through with the touchdown pass. So if you're a Patriots fan, you're like, that's what you want to see. It's less about the wins or losses in 2024 because, again, you knew they were going to suck, right? But if you sit there and see Drake May taking steps, developing, making some big plays like he did, then you feel a lot better about the future. Also, frankly, it makes the coaching staff, Gerard Mayo and others, look really dumb for not having started Drake May from day one. I can't imagine looking at your situation and saying, yeah, we think Jacoby Brissett gives us the best chance to win. Nah! Fucking idiots. Nonetheless, though, they sit at 2-7, and they're a major threat for the number one pick. If they were able to come away with that, you hope you can kind of split the difference, right? Where Drake May shows you enough where you have some confidence to think he could be the guy, and you build around him, but then you have the number one overall pick, and if there's a quarterback there that teams really want, then you could be sitting in the catbird seat like the Bears were a couple of years ago when the Panthers decided to be dumb dicks and give up the farm to go get Bryce Young. Again, this season for the Patriots is all about Drake May. And now that he's finally in there, he's finally starting, now Patriots fans can frankly give a shit. Because it's one thing to be bad, but it's one thing to be bad and not have any reason to be thinking about the future or hopeful about the future. And at least you're trying to see what the future looks like here. But the reality is this team has a long way to go. It's one of the worst offensive units in the league, and they're in the bottom third of the league in pretty much every defensive statistical category. You've got building blocks like Drake May on offense, Christian Gonzalez on defense, one of the better corners in the league. But the talent overall is very few and far between. They've got a long ways to go. Meanwhile, for the Bears, for all those that were wondering how the coaching staff, Matt Eberflus, the Bears locker room, was going to respond to the Hail Maryland and pissing away that game against the Commanders. Well, we got our answer, didn't we? We sure did. They got their shit rocked in the desert by the Cardinals, of course. Like, that game was never close. Like, it's one thing to lose to the Commanders in that, like, piss it down your leg type of fashion. They went on the road to Arizona, and they just got boat raced. And even the final score is not indicative of how one-sided that matchup really was. So if you were looking for, let's see how the coaching staff responds here, let's see how the players respond to the coaching staff and wanted some positive vibes, you didn't get them. And now the Bears, after their bye week, have lost 2 straight. They're sitting at 4-4, and any realistic chances at the playoffs, those hopes are fading quickly. And what's concerning is with all these so-called alleged weapons that the Bears have on offense, Caleb in the offense still stinks, right? And you can say, well, Caleb stinks is a bit harsh. Yeah, perhaps, right? But when you look at last week's performance, certainly wasn't good. He's got a lot of rookie moments, and this is part of the growth and maturation of a rookie quarterback is how do you respond when the chips are down? How do you respond when the things around you aren't so great? And, I look at last week's performance and I say it's one thing if the Bears lost, because the Cardinals aren't a terrible team. They're kind of middle of the road, right? It's more about how did the Bears respond, and they did not respond well. And that's the type of game that you want to look at a guy like a Caleb Williams and say he's able to overcome it. And as much as we talk about the shitty offensive line where he was getting pressured like 46% of the time, not good, right? And you look at so many different things, the structure of the play design, the route combinations, like so many terrible things here. At the end of the day, the great ones find a way to overcome that. And he's not overcoming that. That doesn't mean he can't someday, but right now he's not. So that gives me a little concern. So still some problems with the consistency in his deep ball accuracy. But beyond that, right, you're talking about technically the top receiver on this team in terms of yardage this year is Rome Odunze. Odunze is your leading receiver barely. It feels like they hardly do anything to consistently get DJ Moore involved. Cole Kmet, you get like one great performance and you don't hear from him for 3 or 4 fucking weeks. Keenan Allen has been an abject disaster. I'm sorry, it's true. So all of this and the offense still stinks. And then you look at this defense that statistically is pretty good and certainly at times has played good. When you needed them to play really, really well, though, against the Cardinals last Sunday, they screwed the fucking pooch. And, it's bad enough to give up that Hail Mary at the end of the game to the Commanders, but then you come back the next week and you give up that long touchdown run before the half to the Cardinals. That just can't happen. Too many mental lapses and breakdowns at key moments for this defense. You just can't have it, especially when you talk about a team that is being led by a defensive-minded head coach. That's the unit you shouldn't be worrying about those types of mistakes, but yet here we fucking are. And I was interesting when the line for this matchup started off with the Bears being -7. I opined on Twitter that I can't believe that the Bears are getting that many points from fucking Vegas, because on what universe? Some people will say, and rightfully so, hey, the Patriots stink and the Bears are playing well against shitty teams. They did against the Panthers, the Jags. Okay, I get you there, right? Like, there's something to that. But those were all a few weeks ago before the bye, and since they've come out of the bye, they've laid 2 fucking eggs, and it feels like you're heading down a really dark path really quickly with this team. So, again, it's one thing if you think the Bears are going to win, but 6 points? Ugh, I don't know about all that. Especially when you look at the injury report. Now, the Patriots are going to be without Kyle Duggar and Christian Ellis, but that doesn't feel like the most disastrous for the Bears, though. It's starting to get kind of ugly. On their offensive line, no Braxton Jones, no Darnell Wright. So both of your starting offensive tackles are out. And then you look at Karan Amagaji. He's also out. And he would probably be playing left tackle in place of Braxton Jones. Then you go to the defense. Brisker is out again. This starts to get really concerning. He's been out for a while now. And oh, by the way, for a run defense that has been kind of gettable here, Andrew Billings is now out for the season with the pec injury. So these injuries are starting to add up, especially concerning for a team that you come into this where they were weaker in the trenches and everybody fucking knew it. You're without both of your starting offensive tackles and kind of your pillar of the inside of your defensive line. Not a good place to be. In terms of keys to victory in this one for the Patriots, it's run the football. Stevenson, Drake May, football, especially with the Bears losing Andrew Billings now for the season. Pound it down their throat. Make them prove that they can stop it, because they didn't against the Cardinals. Make them prove they can stop it. Avoid turnovers. I know with a rookie quarterback, that's going to be part of the territory sometimes, but you got to find a way to minimize it. Like if Drake May has 1 interception, it's not a backbreaker. But if you go into this game against a Bears defense that can force turnovers and can capitalize on those turnovers, you cannot make it easier for them. You have to make the Bears work. So even if that means you get a little bit more protective of the ball and you say, like, we're not going to take as many chances. That doesn't mean you just run it all the time, right? But be a little more protective of it. That's going to be a key for them. And then blitz. Like the Bears offensive line is a fucking hot mess right now. Without both of their starting offensive tackles, a unit that already was good. You've got guys playing in different spots. So communication is going to be a challenge. Protection is going to be a challenge. Ability of play is going to be a fucking challenge. Come after them. Make Caleb uncomfortable. Put the fucking heat on him. The Cardinals were able to do it, and that's why they won on Sunday. If the Patriots want to win this game, get pressure on Caleb Williams. For the Bears, I would say offensively, one way to slow down pressure, one way to slow down the pass rush is get your tight ends involved. Get Cole Kmet heavily involved early. When you get him involved in the passing game, good things will happen for this team. Good things will happen for Caleb Williams. Protect Caleb Williams. If you got to run more max protect, you got to get him on the move more. More slants and like those quick breaking in routes, those things that get the ball out of his hands quickly, then that's what you need to fucking do. And then same thing for the Bears defensively. Go get after Drake May. This Patriots offensive line also stinks. Get Drake May uncomfortable. Get him off his spot. The team, I think, that does that better on Sunday will have the better chance to win. When I look at this one, it's now or never for the Bears. You're heading into your last 8 games of the season where you're going to have 6 matchups against the tough-ass NFC North, and then you sprinkle in the 49ers and the Seahawks. You could realistically look at that schedule and say you would anticipate the Bears maybe going 1-7 and 0-8 if everything breaks a certain way. Not a good spot. And especially would lean more towards that direction if the Bears come out and they lose this one and lose 3 in a row. Now there's a whole losing. Now you get rid of Eberflus. You have to do so, and it's like, okay, yeah, but the time for him was after last season. Like, now Caleb is here. You want to fire him so that way you're right back in the same scenario you were with Justin Fields and Mitchell Trubisky. Drafted a quarterback, and then in year 2 you're giving him a new head coach and a new offensive system. Like, we've done this shit before. It doesn't fucking work. Did it with Rex Grossman, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, like, if Bears don't win, season over. The Patriots win this one, and especially if Drake May looks good doing so, Patriots fans will have reason to feel a little bit better about things and feel a little bit better about this season. I really hope this is a Drake May, Caleb Williams showdown. Caleb, the number 1 pick. Drake May, the number 3 pick. Let's see these guys go out there and ball out. I don't think it's going to happen, but I could only hope. I think the Bears have enough here to win because the Patriots are a bad team, and the Bears have done better against bad teams this year for sure. But I still can't believe that they're going to put up a ton of points or win by a massive margin here, especially with what I've seen the past couple of weeks. So I think it's going to be something like Bears 20 and maybe Patriots 16. And that's going to be one of those results. Like, if it plays out like that, you're going to say, yeah, the Bears won, but oh God, the last 2 months of this season are going to be brutal.